It's lights out and away we go!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the GT UK F1 podcast for the season review of 2024. And I'm joined by Alan.
Hello.
And David.
Hey everyone, yeah, just a special one-off here, just because we felt with such a long season. A chance to go back and look at some of our highlights, some of the stuff we really enjoyed. And just to have a bit of fun, something with time to prepare for, rather than just doing it straight off the back of
Abu Dhabi.
last week's Abu Dhabi podcast. So, hope you enjoyed this. If it's something you enjoy, let us know and we'll look at more things like this, more little extras.
Bonuses.
Into all the parts of F1, yeah.
Bonus episodes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the option's there if you'd like it. I'm waiting for the line of F-offs in the chat.
I don't know, I wouldn't mind doing bonuses, but it's...
We've often talked about it, but it's knowing what to do them on. And
Exactly. So,
but anyway, that's the future.
obviously, the season, as we know, as a whole, was, as a fan, was a long one.
I bet you think what it was like for them poor lads working it.
Well, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I know you think, oh yeah, brilliant, best job in the world, but God, that's got to have been tough.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've you know,
Especially if you work for someone like Williams.
Well. So, basically, we're going to go and do team reviews here.
Yeah, I decided against us trying to do a race-by-race review, because number one,
Yeah.
we don't want to be here till next week, and we'd forget half it anyway. So I think if we look at the teams, it's something we never often talked about too much. If you look at the drivers, you forget the team performances. Now, they're not necessarily what you'd think. You know, we can take, and I probably will go through them in reverse championship order.
Well, have you got the teams up then? Cause,
Yes, I
got to say. Because if me and
have.
Alan...
I've got that in front of me now.
Yeah,
Don't
but-
forget, he's talking about this because there's a quiz later. I don't want them knowing else to, but obviously I can't take part because I wrote the questions.
Yeah, because obviously if me and Alan can't look at the teams, we're going to need to know who the hell we're talking about here, boy.
Yeah,
So-
well, yeah, obviously. But the point I'm trying to make is this order, I mean, it might not necessarily be the points reflect the performance necessarily. I know that sounds silly. We'll come into that because if we start with number 10 with 4 points, is Sauber. Definitely a difficult season for.
It wasn't at the beginning for them. You know, you would think they come in, their pit stops were horrendous.
Oh yeah, certainly.
They're like 20 odd seconds pit stops.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But again, it is a learning curve for them. Yes, okay, Sauber's been in the sport for years, really. But it's a new team.
Yeah, but you say it's a learning curve for them. Don't forget it's a new team again next year
Yeah.
Exactly.
because Audi are taking over.
Yeah, I think I know Audi are taking over, but I think they're still going to be called the same team.
Because Audi are taking over, but they're going to use the Ferrari engine for next season, aren't they, if I understand it right?
Yeah.
With Audi looking at bringing their own engine in for possibly the 2026 new regulations.
Well, they won't.
Yeah.
Sauber won't be known. Sauber will change their name in 2026. Officially, they'll. But
Well, they only gained Sauber back this year, didn't they? Because they were Alfa Romeo, obviously, for quite a few years.
It
Even though it
that was Sauber Alfa Romeo, though.
No, I'm sure they dropped the Sauber name for a while.
it was Alfa Romeo, and then it became Alfa Romeo Sauber.
But anyway, 4 points, I think, as you say, Alan says there was a massive sort of curve from the start of the season. I think they were unlucky to only get 4 points.
It's not
Yeah.
just that, though. I don't think Sauber really had the car.
No,
I mean, the drivers were trying their hardest. You know, Guan Yu Zhou and Bottas were trying their
and you know,
hardest.
Bottas is a dependable driver. It's not like we had another Maze Pin and Mick Schumacher on ours. We had 2 capable drivers there.
Yeah. But
And if someone like Bottas can't get good out of that car, then
Yeah,
there's
it's
probably something wrong
saying
with that
something.
car.
Okay, yeah, they scored 4 points. I mean, I do
They got
feel
all of that in one race, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's called Guan Yu Zhou, wasn't it?
it was a
It was
Qatar,
Joe in Qatar, yeah.
Yeah.
Bottas nearly got points, but Norris got there by the end.
which
And
was a shame
I'm
for
s-
Bottas, the fact that he went the entire season and didn't score a point.
It was his first season of that since he started F1, wasn't it?
yeah.
Even back when he first started, it was back when back in the Williams, he managed to score points.
And so they've always been around that bottom 10 sort of thing, but just never been able to get into it.
Yeah,
You know, they've been
I think-
11, 12 sort of thing, but they've just never been able to get that extra position to be able to get that point.
I think his qualifying let him down a lot, though. They were so often in the bottom three.
Yeah.
And if he's starting from the back, you're in an uphill battle anyway.
And I don't know if you guys had been seeing in the video that had been circling around that Guan Yu Zhou and Sainz had made a bet.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Something about you had to wear a costume or something,
Yeah,
didn't he?
basically, if the bet was if Guan Yu Zhou scored any points within the season, Sainz would wear a chili costume and take a picture with him.
Yeah, I think I didn't see the video, but I saw the picture of it.
I've seen the video of it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, they've just not had the best of seasons. It's just, unfortunately, not been their year again.
Yeah. Which I think not being their year, we can really apply to move on to the team in ninth, which was Williams. Who
Oof.
you've got to feel. I mean, James Vowles taking over, I still think the possibility of them doing a McLaren is there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but Vowles isn't an idiot. He's not an idiot. He knows
Oh,
what
no,
he's doing.
I mean, bringing Colapinto in was a risky move, but certainly seemed to pay off.
it did to a point.
Yeah, I'm not saying, okay, he didn't go on to win, but he scored points,
Yeah.
which is something Sargent never managed to do.
And I think that was that biggest downfall was having Sargent in for so long when he wasn't performing. He just wasn't there. To be honest, I'd rather have Mick Schumacher in that car.
Sargent should have gone summer break.
Before this season. He should have gone to start. I think we were talking about it last season,
Well, yeah.
that he wasn't really.
And
I mean, I think Carlos Sainz is certainly a bold move going to them. Like I say, he could come good, and I have every hope it does.
yeah, but the thing is,
Yeah, Williams is an old name.
But the problem is, no disrespect to Albon here. Sainz has a lot of knowledge and
I feel Sainz will outdo. Because, like I said it a couple of podcasts. Albon looked spectacular first half of the season, but it was almost in comparison to Sargent.
Hmm.
As soon as Colapinto come around, Albon started looking a bit more average.
Yeah.
it's not
Because when he
that.
suddenly had a teammate who was a bit closer to him.
Yeah, but that's not the point I was trying to make there. But Sainz has
Oh, no.
a lot more knowledge,
Yeah.
really.
I think Sainz will show Albon up a bit. I think he'll.
I probably will, but he'll help the team develop, and I think that's what
Yeah.
James wanted.
Hmm.
Was somebody who can come in and help
Yeah.
the team step in the right direction.
Yeah, hopefully you're right.
Yeah, and to be honest, the last couple of years they have actually started to go that, especially this season, they have started to make the steps in the right direction.
I think a lot of their problems came from damage this year, didn't you? The car wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
that slot. You just spent that much time in the wall.
Yeah, they'd had probably a rather big bill this year, and probably in excess.
And the trouble is that comes out of your development budget. If you're going to
Exactly.
constantly rebuild the car,
In
Yeah.
excess of, I'd say, at least 20 million.
Oof.
Well, the Crash
Oh,
damage.
no.
I think crash.
As Lawrence Stroll calls it, money he finds down the sofa.
Oh yeah. I mean, the crash damage list had been published.
Yeah, I know. And the trouble is, it's so difficult to put an accurate value on because the cars are so bespoke.
Yeah.
It's not like you can ring Parkco and get front wing for a Williams FW26.
Yeah, I know, but this, like I said, this was the official like crash damage list that
Yeah,
had got released.
I honestly hope to start seeing some good progress out of them. Say with Sainz in, with Albon. Let's hope we start seeing them move forward.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
So of course they were 9th with 17 points. With quite a jump now to 46 points, where we find VCarb or RB Honda or whatever it's
They're actually going to be known as Racing Bulls.
Racing Bulls. Just go back to calling it Toro Rosso.
I don't.
Listen, we all knew what it was.
Yeah.
But, so say they were 8th with 46 points. Now, I think they waited too long to get Danny Rick out, and I realise I'm going to offend somebody listening here when I say that, but that's how I feel.
You might even offend me yet.
And that's what I was thinking, you.
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think they did. I think they didn't have a lot of options at that point. At the point probably why it took them so long to get for Danny Rick to go was because I didn't think they had a lot of options at the time. And to be honest,
No.
bringing in Lawson didn't do them any favours.
I mean, he scored 4 points.
Oh, whoop-tee. 4 points. Fucking Yuki carried
Scored
that team
30.
this season.
And Danny Rick for completion scored 12. So,
Well, yeah. Yeah, but don't forget Danny Rick was out a little bit with his injury.
that was last season, wasn't it?
That was last season.
Yeah, but it still carried him over. He's still been struggling with that. He's still been struggling with his injury.
Because I said the crash his hand was last season.
Yeah, but he still struggles. He's still been struggling with that. Because
Well,
obviously,
from the Danny Rick fan club.
yeah, but it's not going to. Obviously, the amount of physio and everything he went through and all that to get to get his hand back to decent mobility for driving, it's still been plaguing him.
Yeah. The only thing I can think, considering they are basically Red Bull's second team, it's no big secret.
Well, we know
You'll
that.
think 8th is not indicative of where you'd want that, where Red Bull certainly would want that to be. Considering potentially one of those drivers is supposed to be stepping into the big car maybe next year. The rumour mill's fully flying over that one.
Yeah, but yet again, it's all Lawson. It's like, what about fucking
said-
Yuki?
You say that, but Yuki did the test for Red Bull, didn't he?
And he actually
Yes.
looked rather good in it.
Yuki did do the test for Red Bull, but this is what everybody's wanting. Everybody's wanting Lawson in place of Perez, and it's like, what about Yuki? You can't overlook Yuki. Yuki's been there. Yuki literally has carried the sister teams, and it's just like, if I was Yuki, I'd be like, no, fuck your contract. If he didn't get in that other Red Bull,
Like, come on, did you just leave?
no, if he didn't get in that other Red Bull, it'd be like, fuck your contract, I'm done. Because it's not fair on him. Why the hell should he get overlooked for some fucking New Zealander?
No offence to anyone from New Zealand listening right now.
No.
No, I agree. I've said it should be Yuki. He's been with the team long enough.
Yeah.
It's only fair to give it to him. And he did, during testing, look really good in that car. And he admitted the car just felt right. He didn't have to worry about anything. The car was just perfect for him.
But obviously, you do have to realise, obviously, they are testing an older.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They are
But
testing older machinery, but it'll feel
Yeah,
better
it has
for
to be
him.
at least it has to be at least a 2-year-old car.
2-year-old
wouldn't it?
car, yeah. But they I get why Yuki's commented the way he has, because he's used to driving basically what he would probably say is a heap of shit compared to that Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, they had an okay season. Lawson come in was a bit bullish towards with him and Perez towards the end. You know, Lawson's, he's there. You know, with the big rumors going around how he can be replacing Perez and all this lot, and it's just like he's going out there to prove something.
Yeah. And
Oh yeah.
and like we say, Yuki's getting overlooked because of it, and it's like, but Yuki got the test. Lawson didn't. You know, I mean, we should hear after Christmas, within the new year, who that second driver is that's going to be seating alongside Yuki. It's not been revealed.
No, it still says TBC, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not actually been revealed.
So there's no guarantee it's Lawson yet.
I hope not, because that'll teach the fucking princess. He's come in, he's shit stirred, he's caused too much waves, and I have really disliked him.
Shock surprise.
Really?
Driving for RB.
Actually, sorry, Bottas in the Red Bull.
I wouldn't say no to that. Would not say no.
He'd be a dependable hand to help develop, certainly.
Yeah, but there's rumour mill of him going back to Merc as a reserve, but let's spin forward here.
Yep, so next after that was the cracking battle for 6th, but 7th place, 58 points, was Haas. Who I think is quite an interesting one this season, because for the team that has probably a tenth of the employees that the likes of Mercedes do.
So I think Haas have got the least amount of employees in any F1 team on that grid at the moment.
And it's well, like I say, it's something ridiculous, like magnitude less than the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull.
Yeah.
You know, and for a car which for a lot of seasons hasn't looked fantastic.
Well, they
seemed to this season have its moments of, I won't say brilliance, but you know, we had some of K-Mag's antics earlier on in the season, maybe left a little bit to be desired.
Well, you know, considering the team, well, the cars were held and won the tracks until a payment had been made. You know, there's no guarantee that we're going to make it to the next race.
Yeah, that was it. All to do with the Russian deal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it was to do with the old It was to do with the old sponsorship.
That Urukai, which was a Russian firm back from when.
Yeah, it was from the Ukrali or whatever it is. Yeah, and that's what that was over, and they got held. The cars basically got held for ransom, and it was like, how can you do that in somebody else's country?
International law can be a funny one. I mean, we're never going to forgive him for firing Gunther, but I think honestly, towards the end of the season, the car started showing some reasonable performance. Now, next year, obviously, Ollie Behrman's coming into that car.
Yeah, and an interesting fact about Behrman.
Go on.
So, you know, there was all this talk of Behrman doing the test.
I'm guessing he didn't the way you're saying that.
He didn't. The FIA had overturned the decision and not allowed him to do it.
Did they give a reason as to why?
Yeah. Because he had competed in the Ferrari when Sainz had his appendix.
Yeah.
Because he stepped in and because he had to step in for Magnussen. Because he'd raced officially, they did not then class him as
a new driver.
There's a ruling in place which is weird that basically he couldn't then try do the pre-season or whatever the hell this test was to do that. Which
but by that mass, how was Yuki allowed to do it?
Different team.
Whereas you couldn't go to a team that he'd raced for that season, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because he'd raced in the Ferrari, but because Haas he'd raced for, he wasn't allowed to step in. He'd basically, because he'd competed, was it twice or 3 times?
Twice.
3 times. He did the last race. He did Jeddah for Ferrari.
Jeddah.
Did he not do the race where Magnussen had to serve his points ban?
Yep.
And then did he not do the last race? Did he not do Qatar? Abu Dhabi?
No.
Maybe it was just I thought he'd done Abu Dhabi as well, but
No.
there's 2 then he did. Because he did the one he did for Haas certainly was when Magnussen had to serve his totting up ban.
Yeah, so basically, but Ollie Behrman hasn't been too impressed with that FIA over that, because it's like, well, I think it was a young drivers test or something like that. But then it's like, well, how come Fernando Alonso got to do it and he was he was a world champion? But the fact that the reason why Alonso got to do it because Alonso had been out of the sport.
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably the same reason, because it's like, funny enough, I was talking to you guys beforehand. Because when a driver leaves, they hold their number for 2 years. Nobody's been allowed to run Vettel's number for 2 years. Why he's coming back this year. I wonder if that rule applies this. So if you return within 2 years, you cannot be classed as a new driver. But if you return further off than that, because in Alonso's case, it was quite a few years, wasn't it, between his?
No, he'd actually raced 3 times. Behrman.
I seem to think it was 3 in my head.
Yeah, he'd raced 3 times.
What races?
Well, Jeddah certainly.
Jeddah. Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
And Baku.
Baku was when it was his ban then, wasn't it?
Baku was Magnussen's ban. And
I knew he'd raced when
K-Mag had got food poisoning at Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
So technically,
That's it,
that was 3 races. And because it was for, obviously, because 1 was for Ferrari, but 2 was for Haas, that then, under this FIA ruling, it basically discounted him from doing this test.
Right, okay.
Which,
So then,
yeah,
go ahead.
which is a weird one, but
It makes sense, though. It's meant to be for, like, new drivers. It
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, I know Alonso is the outlier to that rule, but the way he came into it probably makes him the outlier, and it's just one of those weird caveats of the ruling.
yeah, but it's because
He's been out of the
Alonso,
season. He's been out of the sport
Alonso,
for a few years.
yeah, Alonso would be, because for that rule to then, so if Ollie Behrman then took a sabbatical for a year, for example, he would then be allowed to go into a young driver's test or whatever it is
Right.
the next year. It has to
I
be
see.
it has to be 12 months.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Has to be a year at least gap to classify that, because like we say, Alonso was out for a couple of years or year to 2 years. That's why he was allowed to take part in it, because even though he's a world champion.
Right, so moving up the list next, we come to 6th place, is Alpine. Now, this could be an interesting one.
I've been there a good year. Eventually, they weren't great to start off with. You know, they really did struggle at the beginning of the year.
Well, yeah, and obviously the 2 drivers, was all rumored of not getting along, which was true.
I think towards the end they were really competitive towards the end.
Oh, yeah, well, they had the one really good result, didn't they, where I think the weather sort of played into their hands a little bit.
Oh yeah, second and
Right.
third, couldn't argue. They couldn't expect anything better than that. They did finish really strong towards the end compared to where they were at the
It's
beginning.
probably what pushed them into that 6th place.
Yeah,
Because it was a really tight battle there towards the end of the season between RB, Haas and Alpine.
Yeah.
Obviously, now they're going into next year with a lot of doubts, aren't they? Because they're still going out engine next year, but it's going to be Mercedes from 26 onwards.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
No,
Is how I understand it.
I'd heard. Well, I don't know. I'd heard it was going to be Mercedes next year.
No, I think it's from 26 they go to Mercedes.
Well, that's Alpine not. Maybe not, but we'll see.
Well, the Mercedes engine, you guarantee good power and reasonable reliability. It's whether they can build the rest of the car around it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a case of slapping that engine in what they've got and it working. F1 cars, unfortunately, aren't that simple.
Really?
I mean, yeah, Alpine have. It was like I said. Once,
Alpine probably are up there with Sauber for the best improvement of the season.
well, they've had like I said, they've had a massive payday, which will help them.
Yeah. They also had that massive shake-up of staff, didn't they, around Belgium?
Oh, you're going to bring him in? Are you bringing him up? Are you going to?
No. No, I just think I was reading more because it wasn't Vasseur, was it? What was he called? The ex-Alpine boss before he shall not be named.
Christ.
I'm asking you questions here, aren't I?
Yep. No. Can't think of his. Is it? It was. No, it wasn't Lawrence Mecki because that's friggin'. That's
No, it
RB's.
wasn't Becky.
That's RB. Oh.
You got there now?
First of all, you have technical directors leave the team. Come on, where am I at? Who was it before Briatore?
Briatore is only a. He's only a bloody thingy, isn't he?
Supervisor.
He's only an advisor.
Well, like I say, he was around Brazil where basically the team director and a load of others.
Well, obviously you've got, for example, I know this is weird. You've got like Ryan Reynolds.
Famine, wasn't it?
Yeah, you've got obviously you've got Ryan Reynolds and that lot that own 24% of Alpine.
Ryan Reynolds is a golfer, and there's somebody, Rory McIlroy, and somebody else, isn't there?
Ed Sheeran is in it as well. Anthony Joshua.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rory McIlroy or
Rob McElhenney. I think he's the golfer. But it was originally it was 2023. It was Laurent Rossi was the ex-CEO of Alpine, and then he got replaced by Philip Cruyff. So I don't know who the hell it was.
No,
Are you on about
Famine? Bruno Famine, wasn't it?
You're on about team? Yeah, you're on about team principal. You're on.
Principal.
Yeah.
Well, basically the whole top table left.
Yeah, but I mean,
Omar, it was former top team principal before they brought in Oliver Oakes.
Yeah. Basically, like the head of aerodynamics, about 3 of the top men left in about a month's period.
Yeah, but then obviously Lauren, like the proper CEO of Alpine got replaced as well, and it's just like it's been crazy for Alpine.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And how. Yeah, Rory McIlroy's got it as well. But it's like it's crazy to see that there's been a lot of shake up within the team, but yet the drivers have still sort of
kept going.
Yeah.
One of the few teams that haven't been linked with, they're going to start changing drivers around and. Is it just me, or has mid-season driver change have become much more of a thing in the past few years?
This is interesting news. Don't know how true it is, but apparently Otmar is involved in a project with American investors.
Yeah. I
So
heard that.
basically to do with Cadillac
Maybe.
coming in. But not trying to, don't want to get too far derailed, but obviously he was part of Alpine
Yeah.
at one point. Well, he was Aston Martin, then he was Alpine, wasn't he?
And speaking of Aston Martin, that's a beautiful segue onto 5th place, which was the Aston Martin Aramco Mercedes with 94 points. Team Stroll.
Right? And who got most of the points this season out of the two?
Alonso.
It was, wasn't it? It was Alonso.
Alonso was 70 compared to Lance Stroll's 24.
Yeah. Proves point in case. Just because
They're the team who spent a lot of money this year. Was it last season? This season on brand new facilities.
Yep.
And unfortunately, as long as they've got that lead weight around the neck, I don't think they do them any good.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, like so now they managed to get Adrian Newey from Red Bull, and it's like, yes, he's the master, but
Interesting side note of that. Eddie Jordan was his manager.
who's
Newey's.
Adrian? Yeah,
Yeah.
Eddie Jordan negotiated that deal. Like, I dread to think of the numbers that were being bandied about there. They were like phone numbers.
but the thing is,
He won't be working for minimum wage and a eating allowance.
no, but is having Adrian Newey there really going to improve Aston Martin's performance? Because this year they
Aston
started
Martin,
off.
I'd say yes.
I
The trouble is, and the thing is,
beg to differ.
they've got the Mercedes engine, which I've already said once is not a bad engine. They have some of the most up-to-date facilities of any team on the F1 grid, because the whole factory is basically new.
I beg to differ. I do.
Now you put that together. No, I'm not actually disagreeing with you as much as you think I am, because I'm going to say it again. They've got one glaring issue.
Oh, sure.
You know, and unfortunately, as much as Alonso on a good day still has a lot of talent, I think his age will also count a little. If they could get Stroll out and get someone a bit younger in,
Drogovic.
or, you know, heck, throw a line to Mick Schumacher. Let him have a go or something.
Well, he's going into the Alpine endurance championships for Alpine, so you know.
But, you know, I think that's their issue is, say we like Alonso, I have nothing against him, but I don't think he's quite got a championship. I think his age would just count against him.
Yeah.
And Stroll just...
Yeah, but you've got to be careful saying that. You can't say that about Alonso because of Hamilton.
I don't think Hamilton's got a championship in him anymore. I honestly think your reaction times...
I think the problem you can't. It's the problem with Alonso is yes. Don't get me wrong. He's an amazing driver back in the days.
Oh, yeah.
I think now he's got to that point where he's not. Obviously, back then he had the car, no question of doubt.
Yeah, but
Yes, he had a great first season when he came back with Aston Martin.
because the car was there.
The car was there, but now it's. Gone,
Remember, the car was there
back.
at the beginning of the season and then sort of
Yes, because
dipped away.
I think Aston Martin tried something and it didn't work, and it cost them very dearly.
Oh, yeah.
It cost
This year,
them.
this year the car's not really been there for them at all.
Well, it has for one driver.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Don't get me wrong. It's great for Alonso because he's had the car. But when you got somebody like that, where your teammate isn't performing to the level that's needed, it's going to have a massive knock-on effect for that one driver.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like
Sorry, I thought I just fell asleep to the Red Bull conversation. We still asked in mine.
yeah, but it's like it's like Yuki. Going back to Yuki, he carried the RB sister team Alonso.
Yeah, but the points gap between those
Alonso.
two wasn't as big as the Stroll to
No, but Alonso
Alonso gap.
carried Aston Martin. The problem is, Stroll's not going to re-energize Alonso. Alonso needs somebody like Drugovich or
Somebody who'd challenge him.
yes,
Yeah.
somebody
You
who
get the best out of him when he's under pressure.
he needs somebody alongside him in the other seat that is really going to help.
Heck, wouldn't someone like Bottas push him a little bit harder?
Maybe, but yeah, to give him that edge again.
Mm.
Alonso knows he can do it if he's got the car under him. We've seen it. We've seen proof.
Oh, yeah.
But Stroll is just a waste of space in that team. He shouldn't be in the team. Get Drugovich in the seat alongside Alonso. See how they do together.
I'd agree. So, moving from there, there's now a massive gap. Because the next one at 468 points is the full fat Mercedes.
Oh, fat Mercedes.
Well, that's in the Aston Martin as like a Mercedes light. That's a
So
full
you-
fat Mercedes. Like,
So you're basically going from semi-skim milk to full fat milk here.
oh, Coke Zero to Coke Original.
Yeah.
I know we had a bad season.
I think they're still fighting off the demons of that really bad car design.
Yeah.
From a couple of years ago.
The start of the season, they were not. Well, George, yeah, he was trying his hardest.
And when he finished Australia on his side.
Yeah. I don't think they've had the car all season, or not until
It's had-
towards
It's had
the
moments
end.
on certain circuits, hasn't it?
Silverstone.
Yeah.
Odd certain circuits. I mean, they had the real bad luck of Russell getting disqualified from Belgium,
Spa. Yeah.
which I think was a genuine cock-up. I don't think was anybody trying anything silly.
No, I think they'd literally screwed it. They screwed up.
I think a lot of it is obviously as we've said before, a lot of races you finish the race, you've got to do a lap round and pick up rubble, which adds weight.
Yeah.
A Spa, you don't do that. You cross over, around the corner, and into the pits.
Yeah, but the teams have to compensate for that because that's the only car that got disqualified. So all the others managed
Hmm.
to still come in, right?
But it was just there was a massive cock up,
Which cost them.
and not just hit them, but Russell as well.
Yeah, well, it cost,
You know.
it cost the team points and cost Russell points.
And to be fair, it cost Russell points for something which you can't really blame on him.
Well,
What?
no, because he drove. He drove a good race that day. It was just, unfortunately, the car didn't meet tech regs.
But, as we stand here now, Lewis is obviously out for next season. Kimi
Lewis-
Antonelli's in.
Lewis goes to Ferrari. Kimi Antonelli. Now,
Which,
the problem is, we haven't seen a lot of Antonelli to know what he's going to be
the one
like.
practice session we saw, he chucked in a barrier fairly quickly.
Yeah, but you got to think Burt Marland had shot it in the same bloody barrier.
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to get himself a seat in the lead car for Mercedes at the time.
No,
Well, technically, he was the lead car for
He
Mercedes.
was
every
the
now and
lead-
then, but that's a
exa-
different matter.
no, it was the Aston Martin.
Exactly, Martin was George Stroll
I mean,
driving.
But let's be honest, he didn't get a lot of work this season. He's probably not surprised he was a bit rusty.
Yeah,
Mm.
Well, he went from Canada to about blooming Saudi without a single safety car or something stupid like that.
it was something stupid when it was just where you expected a safety car, there wasn't one.
Yeah.
Wasn't Saudi, because Saudi was earlier. You mean in Qatar?
Was it Qatar? It was one of the Middle Eastern ones.
Yeah, it's Qatar. Saudi's before on the calendar.
Oh, it is, yeah, Saudi's like third race. It was literally a massive gap through most of the middle of the season where we did not see. We saw very few yellow flags, let alone safety cars. Well, anyway,
Look.
dragging this thing back.
Look,
Go
I
on,
put
sorry.
my soapbox away. Don't mention yellow flags or safety cars.
Look, we've got an itinerary, and the FIA aren't freaking on it, mate. So keep quiet. I kept them off it deliberately. Note to self, add them back on. Right, so then we have a gap of another 100 points over to third place, Red Bull Racing Honda.
What to say?
I mean, they got the Drivers' Championship, but to get that and still only get third in the Constructors.
But where to begin with Red Bull? To be honest.
They were great at the start.
Exactly.
Well, to be fair, they did all the hard work at the start, didn't they?
Yeah.
They sort of did enough at the start that they were able to ride out the end. Apart from, let's say, Max's drive in Brazil was a masterclass. Was an absolute masterclass. I don't care how much you hate him as a driver, people. You have to look at that, and
Oh yeah.
that was a showing.
I mean, what was it? I think they did so well up to Spain, and then from Spain onwards, it was just downhill for them.
Yeah, it coincided with the McLaren coming on song.
But when did Newey leave?
Yeah, but you're not going to see, because to be honest, you're not going to see an instant downturn. He doesn't leave and take his design with
No,
him.
but when did he leave?
I can't remember when in the season it was.
Was it not?
that one of
Was it not after Belgium, or was it before
something like
Belgium?
that. It was some mid-season.
Hmm.
Was it not somewhere around Miami rumours started to sort of fly?
Yeah.
Obviously, he announced his retirement. Then he wasn't allowed to go to certain team meetings.
Yes, but
And this is all before he announced he was joining Aston Martin.
Yeah, but do we think he'd like sort of Spain time? I know this is conspiracy theory, but do you think he was cut out from meetings sort of from there?
I think so, yeah.
Potential.
I think that was. I know we shouldn't. Obviously, you can't sit there and say yes, down to one man and things like that. But actually, there is that whole component. He was the main engineer of that car. It was
sort of his philosophy, wasn't it? He had a team around him, but it was his vision they were following.
I mean, yeah, okay, he had understudies.
It's going to be very interesting to see where Red Bull go from here.
Yeah.
I mean, as I've said in podcasts before, I don't think next year's cars are going to look that different. I don't think anybody's going to try anything drastic next year. Because there's no point with such big change on the horizon the year after.
They will still develop.
Oh, they'll develop.
Each team will still develop.
Nobody would try a completely new design or anything silly.
They won't.
Because there's just no point.
No, not with the tech regs being tech regs engine change and all that lot. Been less than 12 months away.
But it will be interesting to see what Red Bull do, and I suppose we'd never know how different it looked to how it would have looked had Newey not left.
Yeah. And obviously you've got to think now, even though they finished third, yes, it's a drop in finance for them, but it's an increase in wind tunnel time and CFD time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which will benefit them because of the imposing stuff that they had on them due to that.
The overspend on the catering budget.
The overspend on the cost cap. So
then Volavant soon added up.
It's done them a little bit of a favour, but in terms of money, it hasn't done them a favour.
I still see them being near the sharp end next year. I don't see them falling completely off a cliff.
No,
I don't expect them to.
Definitely top three still.
There's still a very good chance of Max getting his 5th world title next year.
That's a possibility.
But I think it's going to be harder now than it was going to be. Especially with competition from the team in second place. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this rolling. Sorry, did you want to finish off there, Chris? Or?
No, because I can bring that up.
Alright.
That could be brought up again.
So yeah, second place with 652 points was Ferrari. The team, I do believe, honestly, are going to commit the cock-up of the season. Or certainly the cock-up of next season. Because getting rid of Sainz, I think, is a ridiculous move.
I'll let Alan put his viewpoints first.
What? Why?
I will still say the conspiracy theorist side of me still thinks if Leclerc hadn't have just signed a contract, would we be talking about Sainz leaving right now? I don't honestly think so.
No, and I reckon it would be Leclerc gone rather than Sainz.
But because Leclerc had literally just, was it a month beforehand, signed a lovely multi-deal contract.
Yep.
Obviously, him leaving suddenly cost him a lot more money than Sainz, who was out of contract. Now, as much as I said at the time, I've seen so many, I understand where the freaking Lewis in, I get where, because how many freaking red t-shirts is he going to sell?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think obviously you think you go back to the old years, you know, of where Ferrari were literally dominating the sport.
The Schumacher era, the Vettel era.
You know, every driver eventually wants to drive that red prancing horse, basically. And to be honest, I don't blame Hamilton for going there.
Oh no, I'd like to say,
you know,
when I thought about it, I get both sides. Like I say, he's going to make them both a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if he does manage to win a race or two, especially if he knows well like Monza, he'll be a god to the Tifosi.
I mean, look, when he joined Mercedes from McLaren, everybody thought, what's he doing? He's going, he's going backwards. But it actually works in his favour.
The exact same thing happened when Schumacher joined Ferrari.
Yeah.
When Schumacher joined Ferrari, the team was a joke.
Yeah, and it still took Schumacher a few years to get his first world championship with them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it wasn't a straight done deal.
No, I know what you're saying. The difference was Schumacher had more time on his hands than I feel Hamilton would have at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, we all know I'm a big Hamilton fan. But I reckon
we don't hold it against you.
I reckon he'll do, obviously, next season and the season after. And then I think he'll call it times. You know, he wants to see in the 2026 season the new regulations, which, okay, fair enough, I don't blame him.
No, I
think that'll be it.
I think it's a 2-year deal he signed, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think Hamilton is not going to say, I think Hamilton's going to struggle.
I think Leclerc's going to be a much tougher fight than he's used to with Russell.
Well, not just that, though, is the fact that Hamilton's got to learn an entire new team. He's got to also learn a new language. I don't know if he's got to...
What, do you reckon he's going to somehow manage to speak Italian with that fake American accent he has as well?
Honestly, he's got to... Yeah, he has to learn Italian because of the team. And...
Now, all I can think of is Family Guy learning Italian. I'm not going to say it because I'll incredibly offend some people, but you know what I'm on about. YouTube it if you're not sure.
But I kind of... I agree that I've always said bringing Hamilton in and getting rid of Sainz was kind of a bad mistake. But if it would have been me in that decision, I would have replaced Leclerc. But because, like you said, Leclerc had been...
Like I say, I think if the playing field had been level, it'd have been a much tighter... Like I say, I honestly believe... Because when these drivers sign contracts, there'll be buyout clauses, but we'll be talking millions upon millions of euros or pounds or...
Yeah.
Well, there'll be...
And the fact that Leclerc had just signed one, so it'd be like full price, compared to Sainz, who didn't have a contract.
Yeah.
it's like a case of, yeah, he's better, but is he 30 million euros better?
Mm.
Also, with the obviously because all this contract talk happened with Hamilton going to Ferrari way before the beginning of the season.
That was the weird one, wasn't it? Because he announced it literally. Was he? If it wasn't before the season started, it was very early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but did that actually help Sainz in a long run? Because he had really nothing to prove to Ferrari.
No, and I think he actually went about it the right way because I think he was the stronger of the two drivers this year. I know the driver standings may not fully reflect what I'm saying here.
Yeah, but
No, Leclerc actually did outscore him, but I think certainly in the early season, I mean, Sainz to come back from his appendix out to win the next race.
exactly. That was
Yeah.
he was proving a point.
Oh yeah,
Sainz
definitely was.
has proved a point all season. You can tell. It's been out. Sainz has been out just doing that for him. Really.
And it
Well,
helped Ferrari out.
he was trying to advertise himself, wasn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was going out there basically was saying, "This is me. Do you want to come and talk to me? I'd like to drive."
Mm.
You know, if you look in there, you're looking thinking, well, if Red Bull had decided, you know, he was an option. I know he's ex-Red Bull, isn't he? He used to be Red Bull.
Yeah.
Junior.
I mean, I would still love to see him at Mercedes.
I'd like to see him back into one of the top cars, or like how they drag the Williams up there, because I think he's got a lot more potential to show.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think there's possibly a reason. Maybe, he went down to Williams, goes down to Williams 2 years till 2026.
Then the Audi deal comes through.
Maybe he'll either go to Audi, or Ferrari might take him back.
Well, what's that? So his contract runs out 2027. So yeah, I'll give Audi a year. So we've got a year to see how Audi actually do him. Because that was always one of the big rumours was when Audi officially told properly in 2026 that he will be joining Audi because his father.
Build up the fact his dad, Carlos Sainz Sr., rallies Audis in the Paris-Dakar.
Yeah.
So the family have strong ties to the brand. Now, whether that does relate to anything in F1, wait to be seen. But that's where the rumours came from.
Yeah. But, like, in terms of the championship, though, for Ferrari, it was very, very close.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was. Very close to our eventual championship winners and the final team to talk about. McLaren Mercedes with the fantastic 666 points.
Which I think is brilliant.
I do love the finish on treble six. Yeah, I do love that.
Which is going to be a bit of an omen for next year.
I think they carried on from where they left off last year.
They did.
Well, it wasn't even that, was it? Even the start of this year, they weren't that great. It was really within season they managed to leap forward.
Yeah. Well, it was around about
Miami.
Well, yeah, you can say Miami was when you really saw they bought in the new upgrades and it bang.
Yeah, the guy just gets in from straight to the front.
Yeah. I think it caught a lot of teams on the back foot because it's like, where's this car come from? Especially Red Bull.
Yeah, oh, certainly. Nobody expected suddenly the McLaren to be right there.
No.
Well, like I say, I remember was it about after the first podcast talking about could Max win all 24 races this season?
Yeah.
Because that was a legitimate concern after Bahrain.
And
it's like, wow, how wrong I'm glad we didn't try and put money on that at the start of the season.
Well, yeah.
But they just seem to have gone from strength to strength.
Yeah.
Well,
and if they follow this trajectory, next season's looking very, very good for them.
But has Lando done something rather wrong?
You're going to have to elaborate.
So, obviously Lando came out at Abu Dhabi publicly over the radio and said, next year is my year.
Oh, do you reckon he started cursing the commentators himself?
Now, if that had been me, I would not have come out and probably said that publicly. I'd have said it within the team, but I wouldn't have come out and said that publicly because that will put so much pressure on Lando's shoulders.
The trouble I see for Lando is that the biggest problem for him comes from the other side of the same garage.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, you look at all the big championships from the last few years, all through Max's wins, all through Lewis's wins. They've usually had, apart from odd years, they've had a teammate who sort of just played second fiddle.
Bottas, Perez.
I
don't think Piastri will.
No, he won't.
Well, it's been evident. Look back at Monza.
I mean, the one time Lewis had a teammate who didn't roll over to him, it was Rosberg, and he beat him. So,
Yeah.
Not to have a dig at the Hamilton fans here, I just do that because it's a bonus.
No, it's true though. It gives you that, to have that person that's not just be a team player, he'll back you up, don't worry about that. But to have that same person under the same mentality that we can win races, I can win this championship.
Yeah.
It's great because you're then trying harder.
Yeah, but the problem I have, I'm playing this from the other side. I'm thinking that because Piastri isn't as willing to just play second fiddle, that could be Lando's undoing.
Yeah.
Because he needs to maximise every result, and if Piastri's going to be fighting him, he's not going to be.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think Piastri's had a great season as well.
Oh,
he has had a good season.
He's had a fantastic. The amount of comments coming from him in his second season.
Yeah, and do you think the amount of controversy that was in his first season?
Oh yeah, the way he left Alpine and
how he was supposed to go in Alpine, but then went to Alpine, and it's just like, whoa. But to actually say, this is why I've actually joined McLaren, this is why it got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why McLaren have got me.
It's.
But he's not. Like I say, he's not gonna just let the team be all about Lando. Oscar's there is to prove that, they both deserve to be number one drivers within that team.
Yeah, but can a team function well with two number one drivers?
Well, McLaren have to. That's what they've said. McLaren have said they have to balance it very carefully because they don't consider Oscar number two. They both consider Lando and Oscar a number one driver.
I still don't like what they obviously did for Piastri's first race in F1. Or his first win, sorry.
Well, they handed it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he went and proved and he's won legit off his own back since.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I pretty great. But for that particular race, to tell your driver who's 8 seconds down the road, back off, let your teammate through.
Yeah.
He's back to the old buddy Ferrari, Fernando is faster than you line, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Lando says on the radio, if he wants to take me, let him catch me.
Well, that's come on, mate. What would we do? Imagine in the game and you were told back off and let me through. What would you say?
Hell no.
Yeah,
you want that position? Come get it.
Come and get it. Yeah. We'd all do the same. Yeah, but no, come on then. If he thinks he's fast enough to win, get his ass up here.
And again, those few extra points matter at the end of the season.
I said it to you, didn't I? If Lando would have lost the championship by like 10, 6 points, we'd have been looking at that result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it was, he lost it by a considerable margin, so it's not as. But you do look at things like you look at the momentum. Did not winning that knock him? That meant he didn't perform as well as he could in the following couple of races.
Well,
exactly. Yeah. But there's been great battles, obviously, between Red Bull and Ferrari throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
But again, McLaren just outshone them. Now, whether that has to do with this rear wing thing that got banned, who knows?
Yeah, but they were still. Yeah, but look at
wasn't
Lando's performance at Abu Dhabi.
It was the front.
No, it's also the rear wing they were looking at.
Yeah, but
teams were complaining about.
Yeah, but the front was to do with the brakes.
But like I say, Lando still ran away with Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
after these things were banned. So they obviously weren't that. They may have been helping, but they obviously weren't the be-all and end-all of that car's speed.
Yeah.
No.
And we're going back to when the Mercedes had the freaking adjustable front towing, wasn't it?
What, the brake magic?
Not the brake magic, but didn't they have that thing where they could pull the steering wheel and you basically drag the toe of the front wheels in?
Yeah, you could pull it out and push it in, depends on what you were doing.
Yeah.
So I think you pulled it out when you were going obviously down straights. Then when you were
Yeah.
braking, you pushed it in, and it moved the toe of the wheels out slightly to help with the braking and going
teams-
to corners.
And the thing is, I love teams doing stuff like this because that could be our next big development for road cars. Could come out something stupid like that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Don't forget, a lot of things we have. You know, all of our cars will have traction control and ABS.
Yep.
F1 developed those.
Yeah.
So the next big thing I mean, you've got some supercars have got forms of KERS on now.
Yeah.
And in years to come, I could see that filtering down to smaller cars, as
Yeah.
hybrids become more and more of a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The ability to regen under braking. I think Tesla's also do it to an extent, don't they?
Oh, you think a lot of cars are actually already.
A lot of cars do already have regen braking now.
Yeah.
Mm. So you
Well,
know, so
most
let me-
EVs, most EVs are regens.
I mean, I've said it before. If I had my way, if I had my way with the rules and regulations, I'd take away this. Has to be a 1.6 V6. This might at least be has to weigh at least this much, produce this much horsepower.
Yeah.
Do it in any way you want.
That's it. The what? 1.6
1.6 V6 is
turbos.
turbo hybrid V6. But I'd
And
say
a
literally,
2,000 horsepower. And it's just like, well, actually, give me a proper V8, V12.
well, no, it's not, like I said, I'd literally throw it. You've got a minimum weight and a maximum horsepower, and maybe a maximum torque figure.
Yeah, but they keep
Tell
saying
them at least 200 horsepower has to come from electric hybrids. But then the engine, what you want to do, somebody might turn up with a freaking rotary or something like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, they keep going on about like all this sustainability and all this lot. You know,
We're
I'm
flying all the way around the world to do this shit.
yeah, but I'm kind of going off topic a little bit. But you've got Vettel.
we'll drag it back.
You've got Vettel, who has a is it a
He owns a farm
McLaren?
now.
Is it a McLaren? One of the old McLaren MP1s,
Yep.
and he runs that on a different type of fuel.
All right.
There was a big thing about it. He has one of the old noisy engine cars, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, they want you to run it on sustainable
But
fuel. of
he
some
runs
description.
it on a sustainable fuel, so that is something that can be done. So why not have a screaming bloody car back in? But
V10.
but have it run on sustainable fuels.
Some of them to look at. I mean,
Bollocks to all the
touring-
hybrid shit. The
that is
turbo
exactly what
hybrid.
touring cars are doing next year. Touring cars have messed with battery hybrid for about 2 years.
Hmm.
They're getting rid of it next season because they're running sustainable fuels instead. Because
Why?
they realise all the electrics were adding a lot of expense to teams that didn't have the budget that F1 do.
But
And it
that's
was a
the
very
thing. If they got rid of the hybrid era, brought back some normal engine, run it on sustainable fuel, yes, that might bring back the element of refueling, which the FIA are probably strongly against. But it would possibly then open up the options.
new development.
Yeah. But
I think that closes the team talk. I think we've
Oh.
obviously. Is there any final points you want to bring up from any of the teams that maybe we missed in the quick rundown?
No, I think
No.
we've mentioned it.
We're happy. Right, Christ, we've been going an hour already. That's that. So the next on my list, if we're going to do it in the order I put it on, is the GT UK Awards. It's brand new for this season. The good old awards, and my soundboard isn't working. Bollocks.
well, good. Keep it on topic. get moving.
Okay. So literally, I've only got 3 lists is all I could think
Hmm.
of. So I'm just going to go around as all. I've only got a chance to think about this. So start off, the first one, the award for the most surprising result of the season. Chris, we'll start with you.
Has to be Alpine.
Alpine, yeah.
Has to be Alpine for the Sao Paulo.
Fair enough. Go on, Alan.
Mine's actually Ollie Berman's first race for Ferrari.
Bollocks, you
think-
both took what my 2 possible answers were going to be.
I think he's done absolutely amazing in that car. He's never literally got a phone call saying, "Right, you're driving for us."
That literally my 2. I was going to. The Bearman one was going to be my first choice. Alpine was my backup. But Ben, once again, Ben, as you said, you got that day. Like literally that weekend, you're in the car, mate, and he scored points.
Yeah.
You know, so
He
I think
just,
Ben wins out with 2 votes out of 3.
he just finished qualifying, didn't he, for the F2?
Yeah, and then got dropped in the F1 car.
Hmm.
So then the second award is, I suppose, kind of similar, but isn't, because it could have gone either way. Is for the best drive of the season.
Max at Brazil.
Can I go? Max at Brazil.
Yeah.
A strong shout. Alan.
For me, it'll have to be Lando's first win.
Open it again, you pillax. I was just going to go Lando at Miami just to find. I mean, I called him the bridesmaid so many times
Oh yeah.
to finally get that monkey off his back. Is just such a brilliant moment, and it was such a legendary. I remember I was texting my other half who was like doing watching you. You're going to want to come and watch the end of this race. You're about to see history
Tuh.
because it's going to be Norris's first win.
Yeah.
And it was just such a brilliant moment, just brilliant. And the fact that it was the way he was, because he drove that race. It wasn't like 2 cars crashed out and he was handed it.
Hmm.
He drove that one.
Yeah.
And so then the final award, which I have a feeling we might be unanimous in this decision, in this one. I hope anyway, but the Trees Gone Award for the most stupid cock-up of the season.
Come on, Chris.
Yeah.
Go on, Chris, which one are you saying?
On Stroll, Sao Paulo, the gravel incident.
Alan?
Second that.
Yep, and a third from me, with a close second for Ferrari dumping Sainz, but we've discussed that one already. But yeah, crashing during the warm-up lap is bad enough. But to manage to drive your car headfirst into the gravel trap and get it stuck when you hadn't gone near the gravel trap in the accident
Yeah.
was quite monumental.
I don't get how he managed to cock that one up so
Part of me
much.
wonders if that was semi-deliberate.
Yeah.
Looked at the weather, didn't want anything to do with it, so I thought, well, if I just put the car here, I've sent me out the race.
Yeah, but that's not, like I said, that's not the type of driver that you...
No, it isn't, but I can't think of any other reason why you would do it.
Well, didn't he actually crash out and now they actually rebuild the car
No.
as well?
Um,
No, I don't think so, because he slid off. He touched the wall, but luckily the individual done a lot of damage.
Yeah, but I thought they had to rebuild the car. I think he crashed in quali. Did he crash in quali and they had to rebuild the car?
Could have done,
race
yeah, I
away?
think he did.
yeah.
And I think,
Yes, you're right there.
I think that I think for them, obviously, as you were saying about crashing off because you didn't want to do the races, so we'll get the car to the track, just drive off, just spin off, cause problems, whatever. That way we can just retire the car.
I mean, you had that with Lewis at Qatar anyway. He wanted to retire the car, and they basically wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
They told him no, because otherwise you're going to carry a grid penalty into next year.
Yeah.
And even though he's joining another team, he would still carry that penalty. Because
Well,
it's,
it's like Bottas
it's with him.
Bottas is going to carry one if he ever comes back, isn't he?
Yeah.
Bottas is leaving the season with a penalty. Apparently, and I can't actually find anything to confirm this. Apparently, Button is still actually holding about a 5-place grid penalty.
Button, Button even has admitted live on air during commentary. He said even he's still got a penalty which he's not served.
Yeah, so if he was to, I wish I'd have known that before I picked him for my F1 2014. No wonder he's been linking around the back.
But it was an odd one that there was a massive like escape road there. You know, he could have just quickly put that car. Well, quickly being the wrong word. Put the car into reverse, back it up, and then turn it round. Back on.
Well, he did
to
all
the-
that though. He backed
did
it
that.
out. He backed it out of the barrier and then drove it through a gravel trap.
Yeah, but he could have. What I mean was he could have backed it up more and then turned.
Yeah.
But it just seemed odd why he just then dumped it into a gravel trap and got beached. And it's like,
Yeah.
that if I'd have been the team owner, regardless of whether that would be my kid or not, he would have been getting an absolute bollocking.
He said he got a
Oh,
pay
yeah.
rise.
Eh?
He said he got a pay rise.
He'd have got an absolute bollocking for that.
Well, he got a free flight home at that point and he'd been told not to come back for the rest of the season. But anyway.
It's just that was that to me that was a biggest cock up for the season, because we really didn't have.
Like I say, the close second is Ferrari dumping Sainz. But other than that, yeah. I mean, Russell binning it at Australia on the last lap was a pretty sizable mistake. Although the meme of him laid like Woody from Toy Story was too funny.
And
If you can find a copy of that, by the way, stick that in the video for this point, because that was hilarious.
was
But I can always send you a copy of it.
there did Lando not hit? Was it this year where Lando hit a wall and then George followed, but it caused George more problems than Lando?
Was that not Singapore last year?
It could have been last year.
It was last year where all the jokes came where Russell
Yeah.
went for the gap, being the gap in the middle of Singapore.
Yeah.
But it's just, there really wasn't, like I say, throughout the season, there really wasn't that many cock-ups apart from just that real one with Lance Stroll. It's like,
Or not ones that stand out to us. And people make mistakes. I mean, Lando clipping the walls, was it twice was it Singapore this year? Or was it Vegas? He was well out in front and managed to clip the walls twice in very quick succession.
Vegas.
Vegas luckily didn't do bad damage to the car.
Unlike Carla Pinto.
But at the same time, when you fight for a championship, it's things like that are going to screw you up.
Mm.
You know.
Right.
So I did have a bit about favourite. I'm actually probably going to leave that out because I think we covered that under surprise result and best. I think covered anything coming from our favourite moment.
I would, well, obviously, I
Unless
know
you two
Alan.
think you wanna-
Well, Alan's would have been, if I'm guessing, would have been Lando's first win at Miami.
Yeah, I will probably a plum for that as well.
And mine, probably best, one of my favourite moments was literally the Red Bull battling with the Alpines at Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
In them conditions.
So, for the final category, the one that Chris is waiting for, what was the FIA's best decision? No, I'm joking, of course.
Was there even a best decision from the FIA this year?
Well, there's been a best one. It might have still been pretty freaking awful, but there's been a best one.
Well, one of the worst decisions the FIA could have done was actually getting rid of the current race director with
3 races to go.
3 races to go, bringing this other guy in, and then the stewards completely getting really strict.
Yeah.
And the latest news surrounding them wanting permanent calls for permanent stewards is who's going to pay for it. That's the latest talk.
I mean, look, I'll send my CV in if somebody lets me know where.
No, but that's what I mean. It's like,
I think make us 3 of the stewards. That'd be funny.
But-
Me and you would give all penalties to Hamilton, and he'd have to counter them.
but it's like the FIA responded and said, "Well, who's going to pay for it?" But this
Yeah,
is
but that's not
the-
how. That's not the right. That's not the right attitude.
No, well, yeah, but this is what I mean. It's come yet again from the FIA, from the president of the FIA, saying who's going to pay for it, and the teams have said, "Well, we're not we're not paying for it. We want it, but we're not paying for it. The drivers want it, but we're not willing to pay for it. Why should we? Because then that takes away from the teams money away
Mhm.
from the teams when if the FIA want the stewards, there's a simple way to solve that problem.
Yeah, the FIA has to
FIA
fork out.
FIA want it, FIA fork out. Okay.
Yep. So
Let's
the
move.
final thing, and this is a bit I'm quite looking forward to, is the Quiz of the Year 2024. So there's 9 questions and then 1 bonus question. Because I was worried we might skirt close to giving away the answer to one of the questions during our talk, so I put bonus one in as well.
So it's 10.
Yeah, so technically they're all number questions. The answer to them all are numbers. So what I've done is I've got a little spreadsheet here. I'll read the question out, I'll get the answer off you both,
And then you'll
and I'll put them into the spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet will give me like the differences, because basically the pointer goes whoever's nearest.
right, okay.
Right,
But then
are we ready?
Go on.
Then you
So
can
what do you want? Do you want me to do
do the
question
do
and
the
give you the answer,
question.
or do you want me to do the answer at the end of all the
No,
questions? Answers at the end.
do the questions, including the bonus. Then we'll do the answers
We'll
at
go
the
through
end.
the answers separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So question number 1. For £10, start the clock. Toodaloo. What number did Ollie Behrman drive under in this season?
16.
You're not saying 16? Are you saying Chris?
What race number?
Yeah. I am going to try and push on time limits a little bit during this as well, so kind of why I want the
I want to
soundboard
say
working.
20.
Is that what you want to say? I'll take that as your
Yeah.
answer. Okay. Question number 2. What was the time in minutes of the longest race of the season?
Time in minutes.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, David.
Go on, Chris, you can answer this first because Alan answered the last one first.
I'm gonna say 285 minutes.
Okay. Alan?
I want to say 180. No, hang on. 154 minutes.
Can I remind you both that it's only 60 minutes in an hour?
Well, yeah, we know
Yeah.
that.
Well, anyway, I've got your answers now.
Depends.
Right, question
You've
number
got to
3.
think of red flags and shit like that. So yeah, shush. Go on, number 3.
Well, I was going off what the FIA classes the
Yeah.
final race time on the website.
Oh right, okay.
Right, so question number 3. What was the time in seconds of the slowest pit stop of the season?
28.5.
Chris?
I want to say 31.2.
Okay. Right, well, the next one, you're going to need a bit of maths.
Oh Christ.
Right. So there was 6 sprint races this season. Correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you added together what number of races in the season they were, what would your total be?
Right. So 6
Can you
sprint.
imagine, you know what I'm saying? No, what the point I make is like, for example, like Bahrain was race number 1, race
Yeah.
number 2, right down to Abu Dhabi was race number 24.
Right.
So if you add together the numbers that they all were, what is the total?
Christ. You're an asshole.
This is why
Yeah.
You've only
Jeez.
just figured that out, mate.
No, I knew that years ago.
I believe it's Chris's turn to go first this time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me I'm gonna say 42.
Alan?
61.
Okay. Question number 5. What was the total number of laps completed by the winners in the 24 season?
What?
Well, once again, I'll explain. When you look at like the end results, it gives you the win. It gives you the amount of laps they completed. If you add together the entire season's laps, what does it come to?
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Look, I've had to dig to get this many
Oh, I
questions
bet
with
you
numbers.
have.
Alan's turn to go first, I do believe.
2,100.
Okay. Chris?
This is just race winning laps, yes? Race laps. Not
Yes.
entire weekend
This-
laps.
How many race laps was there in the
Right.
season? Without sprints aren't counted in this. This is just feature races.
So is that Alan's answer?
Yeah.
For race laps, just no
Yeah.
sprints, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was, I didn't mention sprints, so
Okay,
I thought you said that,
so-
but gone.
Alan's was what? 2,100.
100. You can say the same as him if you want. I mean, it would just mean you'd nullify each other.
Over 2,000. Yeah, 2,452.
Okay. Question number 7. How many different drivers were awarded the fastest lap award in the 24 season? In feature races again. It'll be Chris's turn to go first this time.
12.
In 12?
Is this, do you mean points wise or just given a
Just
fastest lap?
got the fastest lap at the end of the race, whether they scored a point for it or not. Just were awarded, they got the DHL fastest lap award at the end of the race.
6.
Okay. Question number. Yeah. Ah, yeah, sorry, I've gone to myself. I've lost the column. Question number 7. How many different race winners were there in 2024? It will be Alan's first.
Yeah. If Alan still with us.
I want to say 6.
I'm going to say
Oh.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris?
Let's say 8.
I'm going to say 8. Okay. Right, question number 8. How many times did a McLaren driver appear on the podium in 2024?
Oh. Is that both of them or
That's either of them. How
Right.
many times was there a McLaren driver on the podium?
not including sprints?
Not including
Right.
sprints.
I'm gonna go 8. 8 again.
8? Alan?
How many times McLaren drivers on the podium?
Yeah. Either of them or both of them would, so if both of them would count twice. But how many times was there a McLaren driver in a podium place?
I'd say 18.
Interesting. Interesting answers I'm getting at you both here. Now, question number 9, and this is the one I wrote a bonus for because I thought we might have spoiled this during the talk. How many points did Alpine score in Brazil?
I really can't remember the classifications.
And it's Alan's time to go first.
I want to say 34.
The same 34. And Chris?
I'm gonna say 32.
Right, and finally, the bonus question. Added together, how many points in total did the team score this season?
Fucking hell. All the teams?
Yeah, all 10 teams, if you added all their scores together, what's the total?
I'm first, am I?
Yes, you are.
3,900.
Okay.
I'm going 3,600.
Okay, yeah. And that is the end of the quiz. I will say there's been some good answers. One of you nailed 2 of them. So if I go back to the top, question number 1, which was what number did Ollie Behrman drive in the 24th season? Alan said 16, Chris said 20. The answer was 38.
Okay.
Okay.
So Chris gets that point. The second question, I'm sure both of you don't know how long a frigging hour is at this point.
Fuck off.
Because what was the time of the longest race of the season? Alan said 154 minutes. Chris said 285. The correct answer was 126.5, which is 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 54 seconds.
Was that in
So
go-
Chris was saying about 6 hours.
Yeah, but the problem was, is that actually including red flags and all that lot? Or is that just including actual race time when they've calculated that?
I'm assuming probably just race. What time was the longest race? Was the question. I'm assuming that's race time.
And what was the race?
Brazil.
True. Okay.
So that one goes to Alan, but
Fine.
Chris being nearly 3 hours out, I think is quite a spectacular.
Shut up, just get on with it.
No one who fails as a coach driver. Right. The next one, question 3, was what was the time in seconds of the slowest pit stop of the season? Alan said 28.5 seconds.
Uh-huh.
Chris said 31.2. The correct answer, and this was Bottas at Bahrain, was 74.7.
Oh, was that
Yeah.
was that when he got his... Was that the wheel nut?
No,
The
that was
first-
Monaco in a Merc many years ago.
Hmm.
Well, no, 74.733 to be precise.
Christ.
So at the moment, Chris has 2 points, Alan has 1. Question 4 was the maths question. If you added together the sprint weekends, what would the total be? Well, the answers were race 5 China, 6 Miami, 11 Australia, USA 19, Brazil 21, and Qatar 23, for a grand total of 85. So, Alan, I see where Chris was going, saying 42, by the way. He was thinking it was something I'd done for my favourite number. So the score is currently like the Archbishop Desmond. He's 2-2.
And Alan got that one then.
Yeah. Question number 5. Total number of laps completed by the winners.
Right.
Alan said 2100. Chris said 2452. The answer was 1444.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So Alan is currently 3-2 up. Question 6. How many drivers were awarded fastest lap? Alan said 6. Chris said 12. Chris nailed it.
Oh, fair enough.
Chris also nailed question 7 of how many different race winners were there in 24.
What there was. I'll try and sit there and work it out.
Yeah, there was 8.
Yeah.
So question 8, how many times did the McLaren driver appear on the podium? Chris said 8, Alan said 18. The answer was 20.
So he wasn't that far off.
No, 3 times was the double podium.
Yeah.
I meant no, that there was 3 times where there was 2 McLaren drivers. But
Hmm.
the answer was 20. And question 9, this one brilliant, because how many points did Alpine score in Brazil? Alan said 34, Chris said 32. The answer was 33.
So how are you going to do that one then?
Yeah, you cancel each other out.
Okay.
They didn't get fastest lap. I think Verstappen got it.
Yeah, Max got it.
He's 18 and 15.
See, I always thought it was 1816.
No, it's 15.
Because it's 25.
25, 18, 15.
Yeah. So
No, actually, coming into this one, the score is 4-4. I didn't plan that, honestly. That's just brilliant. So I needed the bonus question here to try and separate you both. So the bonus question I asked was, how many points in total did the team score this season? Alan said 3,600. Chris said 3,900. The answer was 2,659.
Christ.
So Alan was still nearly 1,000 off, but he's the winner and he takes 24
Yes.
quiz of the year. So congratulations, Alan. You win nothing.
Oh,
fair
what I
play.
wanted.
Fair play, but you set some obscure questions there, I'll tell you that.
I had to come up with questions that were all number answers.
Yeah.
I had to go obscure without making them really obvious.
And what are you going to do for next year?
I've got a year to work on it, haven't I?
Well, that's true.
I came up with most of this Friday night.
Christ.
Apart from the bonus question, which I wrote while we were doing the podcast.
Fair enough.
So I thought, for on the spur, let's do this. I didn't think I did too bad.
No.
But I think you both need lessons on what an hour is.
Yeah, shut up.
No, I knew what an hour was. It was in my head trying to work it out because I know they're only allowed to race 2.5 hours max, I think it is.
And like I said, all this, if you want to check it, all this is taken from the F1 website, apart from the ones I've had to maths.
Yeah.
So it's all there and checkable if you want to check my workings.
But yeah, it was trying to work it out because obviously I knew 60 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
122 hours. So it's just trying to work it out in my own head, which isn't easy.
Like I said, Chris's 285 though was a spectacular answer.
Yeah, shut up. So,
I mean, that is 4.75 hours.
well, we've had a race that sat there for nearly 3 hours, and that was Spa. You remember when George Russell was in a Williams? So,
Yep.
Have you got anything else before we wrap this one?
Just to thank everyone who stuck with us this season. Thank you to yourself and Alan. Thank you to Ryan for taking part in the Fantasy League. He definitely helped keep that a bit more interesting.
Yep.
I hope people enjoyed it. I hope it was one of the best seasons of F1 we've had, as far as I can remember. For the variety, for the sheer entertainment value, it's been one of the best. Let's hope for more next year, and I hope people will join us for it.
Anything Alan wants to add?
No, I said it has been one of the most enjoyable races. Obviously, you can tell it has because there's been hardly any yellow flags or safety. And it was interesting. It was nice to see somebody challenging that Red Bull.
Agreed. And yourself, Chris?
All I'm going to say is obviously thank you to everybody that's listened to this season. Obviously, yes, there has been times where we've completely gone off the rails, but that's why you keep coming back to us.
If we didn't, they'd think we'd been replaced.
Exactly.
At this
That's
point.
why that's why you keep going back to us. And obviously, the 2025 season is not that far away, guys.
No.
The F1 Fantasy League will return in 2025. We're hoping to get that set up earlier.
As soon as the website allows us to do
the
it,
website can do it, it'll be done. So, obviously, there is ways you can join. We will probably end up posting it out on my out on my Twitter account. Probably put it out on the YouTube channel. We'll put it out on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, we will.
In a
We'll make it known in as many places as possible.
Obviously, there may also going to be new platforms as well. So, if you do know anybody that's on new platforms for audio listening, then yeah, it's going to be interesting. But one thing I will add is obviously, you know, where it's what time it comes out. It'll be 3 p.m. And
Yep.
the only thing I'm going to say is, for when this comes out, is have a good Christmas, happy holidays, and have a good
Yeah.
New Year.
Seconded.
Heard it.
And we shall see you, and obviously, in the new year, for the new season. It's going to be exciting, and that's going to be Australia, so it's going to be even more better. And obviously, thank you to
Yeah.
Alan and David for joining,
Welcome as
Pleasure.
always.
and we shall see everybody after Australia. So, until then,
Adios, amigos.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
goodbye for now.